All right, so we're gonna start off today's show by announcing the Hooper of the Night, which goes to Memphis Grizzlies star point guard and future All-Star Ja Morant, who had a great game and a win last night over Cleveland Cavaliers. What did he finish with, a 26-6?
Yeah, something like that. I
But
don't even remember.
Ja, for the
26 and
most
6.
part, even though Cleveland was winning and they were kind of going back and forth with Memphis, Ja kind of controlled the floor of the game, especially in that fourth quarter when he hit a couple big shots down the game to win it, tie it, and seal the game. And just to see Ja's growth in his first 3 years, I know early on a lot of people, we're going to get back to the Hooper Night in a minute, but talking about Ja for a second. But I know a lot of people early on was comparing him to Westbrook. But I've seen over the last couple of days a lot of people saying he's looking like MVP Derrick Rose kind of with how he's playing the point guard position. Do you kind of agree with that, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not mad at it because maybe not necessarily. It's his way of getting in the paint.
Mm-hmm. They say even with the athleticism and all, they say he's looking more like that. He's looking like Derrick
finishing
Rose.
with the floater. But maybe because athletically, they're all on par. Because Russ was a freak athlete also, but sure. I just think Ja like his finishes with his layers because Russell always was more mid range.
Mm-hmm.
Ja's not really mid range. He's getting to the paint. He's shooting a lot of floaters, and Derrick Rose shot a lot of floaters. Then that was like a go-to shot for him. Well, that's kind of how he got hurt. He wanted to the jump step to go up for his floater or whatever when he got hurt. So yeah, I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Like I said, Ja last night really controlled the floor of the game, just getting Memphis to win. And Memphis over the last basically end of the month and a half has been really haven't been playing great. I think it was 6-0 in their last 6.
Yeah,
10-1 in their last 11.
Like that, right? Yeah.
I think they were either 12-5 or 15. They're 12-5 against teams over 500. So Memphis is really looking to claim a playoff spot this year, not just the playing game. Right. And that all starts with Ja, like, so once again, our Hooper of the Night.
And him winning Hooper of the Night, like it was really kind of tough today picking someone because the stats are always a part of it, obviously.
For sure.
And a lot of people had big nights. RJ had 30, Julius had 30, LeBron had 30, Fred went for 30. Like Ja didn't even have the most points. But for me, it came down really between him and LeBron because you mentioned how he was just controlling the floor of the game or whatever, and he sealed that win for them on both sides of the ball. So, 5 straight games are over 25. Like I said, 26, 5 and 6. So yeah, Ja Morant, Hooper tonight, deservedly so, and he beat the better team out of everybody because Cleveland's pretty good.
No, yeah, right. And with that being said, I'm John W.
It's fresh hit.
And this is the Hooper's afternoon session. And just speaking of Ja Morant, winning Hooper tonight, him and Darius Garland had a great point guard battle last night.
They did.
Like I say, with Ja picking up a win, and Cleveland early on came out on fire.
It was Garland's first game back, right?
I think so. Too. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was. But Garland kind of came out on fire, hit a 3. Got a lob to Jared Allen, and Darius Garland controlled the floor of the game in the first half, whereas Ja controlled it in the second. But not even just this game. I think this is a point guard battle that we should be expecting for the next decade. As we were talking before the show, I was saying that Ja at some point is going to be the standard for the point guard position, but Darius Garland is going to be a player you're going to have to put some respect on his name in that position in the same light as Ja. You said something too that was a little. We gonna leave that for ourselves, but you said something too. But you can go ahead and take over on your thoughts on that on this particular battle. Honestly,
it's funny though because Ja has been in the news obviously with winning. That's what comes with it. I did joke and say earlier people gonna be mad when we get this Memphis Cleveland finals. The mainstreamers are gonna hate that, but Ja's a person like he's been in the talks a lot recently. I've seen one of the spaces, I think it was Hoop Spaces, they did ask him was he a top 5 point guard. So he's somebody a lot of people's talking about. Zach Ramsey from Knowledge from the Alter Glass Pod, he talked about like Ja looks like the mold of an MVP type player on his last pod. So a lot of people have Ja's been in the news with a lot of people because we're just looking at the growth of his game. And he's impacted Memphis from day one. His first year there, they were in the playoffs. The season stoppage kind of messed that up. Let Portland get healthy, and Portland took care of business in the play-in in the bubble. But then last year, actually being in the play-in again and winning and making the playoffs, I think was big. And then they're taking another step this year, and that's due to Ja. And then on the other side, like you said with Garland, like he's just been different leading Cleveland this year. It's just how he gets people involved, the relationship that he has on the court with Jared Allen. He makes timely shots. It's just a different energy with him leading the team, and it's similar with Ja, and that's why like Cleveland is a real factor. He tries on defense. A lot of small players, small players get the pass for just because they're small doesn't mean they can't play defense. But he puts in the effort. I'm not saying he's like that. He plays team defense or whatever. So this is a matchup that I can see where you're going with the Ja being a stand-up. But Garland, he's gonna say his name too. Only thing for him to do now going forward is just consistency to show we can do this year in and year out. Because I know it's going to be a hard choice. Because Cleveland's not getting 2 All-Stars, more than like. I don't know. Boston got 2 last year, but they're probably not getting 2 All-Stars, but they're going to have to make that decision. And I think Garland should get the nod or whatever. Yeah, that does look like a matchup that we can see going forward in the future. So,
and it's going to be a fun matchup, too, because it's 2 contrasting styles at point guard as well. Right. Garland is a shooter, facilitator type, whereas Ja is a slasher facilitator, but they both look to get their teammates involved.
They're different, but the same in so many ways. And I like the fact that they were actually like guarding each other too. So they were on each other for a lot of possessions. And like you said, it's a fun matchup. And honestly, when I was looking at the game yesterday, just trying to see what was the best matchups or whatever,
I chose that game. I watched that game on purpose.
I was like, hold on, this should be a good game. They're both pretty good teams. They both have a solid offense, and they both have good pieces everywhere. And they kind of leveled up to that from the start. They were kind of going back and forth as far as making buckets, but then they were getting some possessions because like it was some big blocks from Cleveland. Then I also saw Memphis get some good defensive possessions also. So both are really well coached teams. They're both. You look at them and just wonder what's the next step for them, for us to take them seriously as really elite teams. But I like that Cleveland Memphis matchup, and I wouldn't be mad. I mean, only way we would see them in the playoffs is in the finals, but a Garland versus Ja in the playoffs would be interesting.
No, for sure. Both teams just have to, like I say, stay consistent and stay healthy because we've seen players from Memphis miss some time. Jaren Jackson, we see Cleveland had Sexton, Isaac Okoro, Ricky Rubio's out, who they traded to get Rondo to replace. But I think those are going to be some of the better teams if they can keep those core together, and they're going to be some good teams over the next couple of years.
Cleveland and Memphis, that's what's up.
Malik Monk, everybody's favorite player. We said from the beginning he should be starting. He's starting now. Over his last 6 games, he's averaging 20 points, shooting 56% from the field, 45 from 3. He's injected a certain type of offensive energy that this team needed, and I know a lot of people thought he could only provide that off the bench because he was sporadic at time. In his time in Charlotte, you would see him come out and he would have some 30-point, 5-3 made games, and he'd come out and have some 11 points, 4 for 15 nights.
Exactly right.
But Malik Monk is the one player on this Lakers team who can not only make a difference, but be like a big part of why they can achieve something this year because he's one of the few players that can create his own shot and he's comfortable creating for other people out to pick and roll.
Right. Yeah. And, Malik, he's a player that you need on the teams when you got players like LeBron and things like that because almost in a sense, kind of like JR was where you know what the star player is going to do. We know what LeBron's going to do. We know what Westbrook is going to do. But Malik is a guy that's not going to, he's going to play, obviously, to further them. But if Malik got it going, he's going to get his shots up, too. And you need that, too, at times because sometimes that's how, LeBron can catch that extra breath.
All right.
Let Malik facilitate this for a minute. Let him go off and get his bucket. So, it was a matter of him getting healthy. He went through the health and safety protocols thing also. And they're just trying to really, for some reason, he did come into the situation like he had to prove himself because I know you said he should have started off the bat. And I said that it should have been him or Kendrick Nunn. Nunn was still hurt. So I said that I thought that Malik should start it. And it was like people just automatically went to Wayne Ellington for some stupid reason or whatever. But he's definitely living up. He's living up to what they need him to do, replacing some of those KCP type minutes or whatever, and he's going to be a big part of why the Lakers try to still advance. I'm sure everybody's now changing their tune about the Lakers. That's why I've said the whole year is just like they got to get better, but they still just need that. I mean, they got to get healthy at the end of the day. I mean, they still missing Anthony Davis, so you really can't completely judge the Lakers. They just got to stay the course. So he's going to be part of the reason why people changing what they think about them because I'm sure now they were first round exit a week ago. I want to hear who's saying that they just first round exit now.
All right. real quick, did you see LeBron do the jump ball? But did you see LeBron walk off? So he didn't have to
So
do
he
it.
do jump
Yeah,
ball.
he didn't jump at all. Like he
Mm.
didn't get any ever rough through the ball up. He just kind of like, I'm just gonna get back on defense.
Hey man, LeBron that center. Hey, I seen him do one jump ball, but yeah, I ain't surprised.
It's certain nights it's gonna be like while he's starting at the 5, it's gonna be like what's really the point of him jumping with
yeah,
Rashawn
we
Holmes?
just get that second half possession.
Exactly. But speaking of LeBron, Player of the Month was just announced the other day, and you want to go ahead and get into that real quick?
Yeah, so Player of the Month for the Eastern Conference was Joel Embiid. I was surprised it was Joel. Philly went 8-5. Joel had, I think he averaged 29 and something like that, something crazy for the month. And then for the West, it was Donovan Mitchell. Donovan averaged 30 or 31 for the month. Utah went 10-2. But it was funny. I saw when it was announced, instead of kind of celebrating the players that won it, it kind of just went to the debate of who should have won it. Because a lot of people, LeBron, obviously he's on streak. I think he got 9 straight 25-point games. He had like 6 straight 30-point games or whatever. But the Lakers were 6-8 in December. I know in the East, a lot of people thought DeMar DeRozan should have got some credit, and he kind of got he got a little bit of a stronger case, averaging 30 in December. And he went undefeated. He was 8-0 in the games that he played in December. So he got a good argument
back to back.
But I didn't like how it should have been celebrating the players that got it instead of people just trying to say who should have won it. In my opinion, because I mean Donovan Mitchell then went 10-2 and he averaged 30. So that's not deserving of Player of the Month. He averaged the same 30 that LeBron averaged, and his team was better or whatever. So salute to them. I get the Donovan Mitchell thing. I mean I get the DeMar DeRozan, but Joel had a pretty dominant month, and it's really kind of low key. I was surprised he was announced as Player of the Month because even his last like 7-8 games, I think he's at like 34 a game or whatever. He's been going crazy, but he hasn't really been kind of the talk as he's because Philly they started strong with him, then he missed time because of COVID. He got hit with COVID bad,
right?
So then he been trying to kind of pull them back out of that or whatever. But salute to them for winning Player of the Month. I always like the player to check out the Player of the Month. I even try to keep up with the Player of the Weeks. Typically, I don't know who it is for this week, but I know Steph and KD won it at the beginning of the month. The first month, November, October, Steph and KD. So we'll see who will get it for this month.
Now, and just speaking of Utah real quick, I say 10-2 last month. Third in the West. Nobody's really talking about them as far as being title contenders. I know a lot of talk when it comes to Utah is mostly about Rudy Gobert's impact. But to see Utah still kind of standing strong at the top of the conference, one of the best 3 records up there with Phoenix and Golden State. And, of course, we've seen them kind of bow out in the second round the last couple of years. But do you think Utah has a legit chance as a title contender? Or I already know what you're going to say, they're missing a piece. But do you think as put together right now, without doing any trades, they can contend for a title?
Yeah, I think Utah, they're really just in improving mode, man. Maybe that's why they're not getting the talk because they're in they're top 3 cool. They were top of the league last year, so we kind of expect them to be there. We know that you have 2 All-NBA players. You have 3 All-Stars on your team. 2 for sure that are probably both going to be All-Stars again this year. Like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert probably both going to be All-Stars this year. So they just got to prove they can do it in the playoffs now at this point. They're not the team that upset OKC
anymore.
A couple of years ago. Donovan Mitchell's rookie year. Now it's like, all right, we want to see y'all actually make it to the conference finals. And yeah, I think they could be upgraded. Like I think at Royce's spot, they could upgrade right there. But also at the end of the day, they do have Mike Conley. They have people know their role on the team, and I think that means something. Like you know what Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson are supposed to do off the bench, but we want to see that in the playoffs also. So people are gonna kind of dismiss them until they at least make their conference finals noise, and especially seeing how Phoenix did it so quickly.
Right?
You add Chris Paul. Boom, and they make a run to the finals or whatever. And then you got opportunity for blood because at the end of the day, LeBron them are wounded right now. Kawhi isn't out there. Klay has to prove that he's healthy or whatever because that changes Golden State's fortune. So they're really as far as health, and we know we have everybody here that we want to be here. The only team that they're looking at is Phoenix. Everybody else still has a few things to figure out.
Sure.
Memphis is still young. We're not afraid of Dallas at all.
Luka did just come back though.
Luka did just come back, but Dallas still has a lot of things to figure out. But as far as teams that I know they're gonna give me, I know what I'm gonna get out of Phoenix. In May or whatever. We're still trying to figure out Russ, AD, and LeBron. So even though the potential is there, we're still trying to figure it out.
That's fair.
Memphis is still young at the end of the day. So even though they got some experience, who's gonna step up with Ja in the playoffs?
Good question.
Or whatever. So
good reason.
Paul George is hurt now, and Kawhi, is he playing this year? He's probably gonna play, but that's more towards the end of the year. So Kawhi at 3/4 of the season, that team shouldn't beat y'all really. So the Nuggets are down Murray, Porter. These are the people who you expect to knock Utah off. Right. So really, it's like Phoenix is the only one that you're really like afraid of, not afraid of, but really afraid of. In my opinion, that's who they should be looking at. And Phoenix is who made it to the finals. So, and you got Donovan Mitchell, who wants to establish himself as the best at his position, top 10 in the league at some point. You know what I mean? It's because at some point you're not just a young player no more. It's like, all right, I'm not just a young up and coming player. I'm actually that player. We've seen him score 50 in the playoffs, but we just haven't seen him advance. So I think that's where Utah's at right now. But up and down, they have it because everybody respects Quinn Snyder as a coach.
For sure.
They have good defense.
Yeah.
They got a defense player of the year multiple times. Like, I'm not saying they're a juggernaut offensively, but they're not lacking offensively. They got shooters. Mike Conley is a really good point guard. Donovan Mitchell can get 30. So they really kind of have it. Now it's just time to do it.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And like I said, you can always add more. You can always improve a roster through trades. But with the team that you have, like I said, they've been a competitive team since Donovan Mitchell has gotten there. It's just getting that next step.
Because you do want to improve with trades. Like, obviously, you get the point of improving trades. But if Rudy Gobert is supposed to be top 5 at his position and Donovan Mitchell is supposed to be top 5 at his position, you have six man of the year and the person that was runner up for 6 man of the year or top 3. He finished top 3. Him and Joe. You have a coach that's won Coach of the Year. It's like, what else do you need? You have the young players. I mean, Bogdanovich is like, he'll give you 30 also where he's feeling it. They really have it. It's really just like time to do it. So they really don't need to trade for nothing. People just got to play their role and do it. Bring that consistency from the regular season to the playoffs.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Speaking of Klay,
they 27-10. So
it's a good record with. That's where you want to be at right now. But speaking of Klay, his return shall come on, I think it was Sunday. Yeah. I've seen a video. I guess one of the guys who work in the Golden State Arena, they were, I guess, running the video, starting line of video, and they had Klay in the video.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot to kind of get ready. So yeah.
So of course we all think. I know for the most part, a lot of people think he should start. I've seen some people say they should announce his name last so he can get the long
roar.
Right. And I see some people say he should come off the bench for the same reason, just to get that same reaction. But getting Klay back right now at this part of the season when the whole team is rolling, honestly, like we see Andrew Wiggins is having a great season, Draymond is having a good season, Jordan Poole is really having a great season, Steph Curry is having another MVP season. Do you think Klay needs to come back like full Klay, or he just needs to come back and just be able to find his rhythm right now?
Definitely at the minimum need to find his rhythm. But I do think they're going to want Klay because obviously you're going to adjust what you think about him as far as I just think the only thing that changes as far as what you think about Klay is him as a two-way defender. I don't want Klay guarding LeBron or Kyrie or nothing like that no more, especially since Wiggins has emerged. But offensively, I expect Klay to be Klay. I expect him to shoot 40% from 3. I expect him to average 18 to 20 points. I expect him to have games where he can go off for 30. And I think that's what makes Golden State a championship contender. If Klay comes back and he's just, 10 to 14 points, I don't think that pushes the needle for them. I think and what Klay has to his advantage was his game was never based around just fully athletics. It was around footwork, shooting and movement, and those are things other than the movement, which you got to figure out to make sure he's cutting crisply. But if Klay feels good coming off those screens, he's going to be okay because he still has his size to shoot over people. He's never been he's a get to your spot person instead of more of a break you down with a lot of dribbles or whatever. So Klay's game should be fine, but it's just a matter of trying to catch his legs back up because he's missed 2 straight years, 3 years, whatever it's been, with leg injuries, ACL and Achilles. So it's like really finding your legs and getting in shape. But luckily they do have a good team, and he has a couple months where you just want him to really to be rounded into form during the playoffs. But he said that he wants to come back and immediately be a high minutes player or whatever, which is kind of what delayed his return. He could have came back weeks ago if he wanted to be on a minutes restriction. But other than game 1 through like 4 or 5 where he's just getting back in shape, like I think he's immediately going to be back 30, 35 minutes a game or whatever. So to play those amount of minutes, you're going to expect him at the minimum. I mean, if he's averaging 16, shooting 40 from 3, I'm not going to act like that's terrible, but or whatever. But they're expecting 16 to 20 points per game from Klay.
And just adding Klay back, of course, somebody's going to have to go to the bench, and more likely it's going to be Jordan Poole.
Yeah, Jordan Poole. But he's already been coming off. He came out. He had 30 the other day on the bench.
But just with that being said, how does that change the kind of dynamic of the team now? Because now you kind of have a primary ball handler scorer off the bench. How do you think that changed the dynamic? Well, now they got to start running that second unit. You think Klay is still gonna get some of those minutes as one of
the second
unit? How before he be hurt is one of the scoring options out there.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it really kind of makes him a little bit more versatile because Jordan Poole has came into his own as far as handling the ball and feeling good with it. So now coming to the second unit, he can kind of feel like it's more of his team. And I mean, honestly, that gives you a stronger backup for Steph because who really Steph back up anyway. Right. So now that makes you a little scarier. And then I can definitely still see different lineups where Poole is running it, and you still can have Poole and Klay out there. You can still do some Jordan Poole and Draymond lineups or whatever. So I think it can make him a little bit more dangerous with him coming off the bench because his shots are going to, he's going to get his amount of shots or whatever. So it really should help them, honestly.
No, y'all definitely agree with that.
I think if anybody loses minutes, is GP too. Like if anybody, he probably loses a few more minutes. Klay get those minutes. And maybe like Otto, but yeah, I think they're gonna be a little. Now you're gonna have. I didn't really think about it now, but GP2, Otto, and Jordan Poole coming off the bench is pretty strong off your bench. And then once you add Wiseman probably comes off the bench, and Looney probably continues to start. More than likely, championship experience, and Looney's playing pretty well, and it's not like a Klay situation. Right. But even if Wiseman does start, and they add Looney to the bench. That makes them dangerous.
They got a good 8-9 rotation now. And speaking of players coming back and making their first appearance this year, Kyrie Irving is slated to return tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Do you think Steve Nash is going to let Kyrie play, or is he going to kind of not necessarily hold him back, but not give him the minutes that Kyrie might want to play?
I hope, especially first of all, Steve Nash likes playing his players, which I'm not mad at because players like playing. We're kind of getting back into. These players want to play 35 to 40 minutes. They want to do it. Maybe not every night, but they like being on the court or whatever. And I think a part of, when he first came back, they was like ramping up his conditioning because I think he's going to be out there for minutes. We've seen some of these G Leaguers, if they play well once they got picked up, they're out there for 40 minutes or whatever. So 35, at least 30 minutes. So It's not like Kyrie's coming back from an injury. So if he's playing well, he feels good. They need him on the court. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play 35 plus tonight. I'm playing 48. You're gonna be 48. You're gonna be a part-time player. You only playing on the road. You playing every minute of these road games. Oh God, I swear, I found every minute. All right, so Kyrie would not come out the game.
Not he's just talking how the minutes played. But what do you expect from Kyrie tonight? Not even necessarily. I don't even see not necessarily even scoring. I was just finna say how you expect him to play.
Because what works for them, even though they didn't play a lot together, they played together. So trying to figure out what everyone wants to do won't really be hard, in my opinion. And then I just think when you got players where, that's where the benefit of having KD and how ultra efficient he is, because that's the only person you worry about, making sure he's okay. Everybody else aren't. Like James is gonna dribble and pass. He averaging 9 assists a game, so he don't mind. He's not gonna mind giving it up or whatever. But the fact that KD doesn't really need a bunch of shots, and he's still gonna give you 28 points, you don't mind Kyrie doing whatever it is that he needs to do. So I expect Kyrie, if he feels good from the start, like maybe you see some rust, so he puts up some extra shots because of that. But
I always figured Kyrie would be the one to take the most shots on this team anyway. Just because I feel like he's their best one-on-one scorer at this point, just where everybody's at in their career.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's the one that you don't mind because KD's whole thing is going to be efficiency. I mean, even in Golden State, people forget Klay typically led them in shots, not Steph or KD. So.
Right. But speaking of just adding Kyrie back to the team, we see how Patty Mills played in that kind of off-guard 2 spot. And, of course, they kind of brought Patty Mills in just so he kind of imitates some stuff that Kyrie's going to do off the bench to a certain extent. But how much do you expect any of the offensive flow to change?
I think it's going to help him, honestly, because I think Pat, they've been getting a lot more from him than they expected, and they've been asking him to do a lot more than they expected. And he's done that well. But you can see certain times where you can tell they're asking a little more for him that he can't do it every night.
Right.
Because, Kyrie averaged 27 last year.
90, right. Did he get 90-50? He got 90-50-40 last year, right?
If he didn't get it, he was like a hair under it. So, but Pat came out playing hot. He was leading the NBA 3-point percentage at one point. I think he's still at the top. And then, they kind of leaned on him a little bit more heavier. So having Kyrie, I think, kind of balance out his role a little bit more, so he really may go off a little more. And Pat is built for it. He's a champion. People kind of forget about that too.
No, for sure. And just speaking of Pat, who's had a long career up to this point in Portland, San Antonio, like they contributed some minutes to a championship team. I know we don't usually see this from a player at this level of his career, but with the way that Pat Mills has been playing, and he's probably not going to even get any considerations because I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that had this thought. Do you think Pat should be a for most improved player?
The way he was shooting, yeah, but
like even his scoring numbers,
scoring is up,
everything is up.
He's always one of those people that people thought could break out or whatever. He's been a mainstay on that Australian team for a while, and he's
his best player on the St. Mary's team.
Right, yeah. So people always thought he had this certain type of potential. So it wouldn't be bad for him to get some type of consideration. I don't think he would.
No,
but
I definitely.
He is has improved his numbers across the board everywhere. He's been really important for Brooklyn. Like he's gonna be important for them trying to win the championship.
Do you think that's something that they should look at more veteran players at? Because like at what point do you stop improving? I know I'm not saying like a LeBron or a KD type, but if I've been a steady player and then one year I do just have a breakout year, maybe it is when I'm at 32, 33 years old, and not necessarily an all-star year, but we can all say that Pat is having a breakout year. Do you think that veteran players should start getting looked at in that award more often?
Yeah, because I even thought like randomly, it's been a couple of years now, but even like when Brook Lopez reinvented himself and
when he got to Milwaukee,
yeah, he's shooting 40% from three, that he should have got some love for it or whatever, because you can still always add some things to your game, and or even just switching the type of role that you play or whatever. So I think, even Julius Randle is even an example of that. Even though he's still kind of a younger veteran.
Right.
Typically, players are a little bit even younger than he was
when they
win that award. To win it 7 years in. Sometimes you get it a little bit sooner. So, but it is the most improved player. So when you do, I think, significantly take a jump like that, you should be considered or whatever. And I think he should be considered. But going to the bench will put him in the 6th man of the year conversation, possibly.
No, yeah, definitely.
Jordan, I think for Jordan Poole also too. 6th man of the year gonna be tough this year.
No, definitely.
I think
6 man and most improved is gonna be a tough.
Yeah, they both
gonna be tough races this year.
Yeah.
All right, as we know, Steph Curry recently came to all-time leader in threes. And he's adding to that total every game that he plays. He's also the only member of the 3,003 club. And there's a lot of people like to point out, especially since they won that championship in his rise to superstardom, that he's changed basketball for better or for worse. And there was a play last night in the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers game that I think a lot of people kind of attribute to that as well. And, of course, it was Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly on the fast break together. Obi Toppin kind of gives it up once Emmanuel Quickly gets below the free throw line quickly. I don't know if he just didn't think he could make make that shot right there, or what was going through his head, but he decides to pull it back out, gets to the top of the line, gets to the top of the key, and shoots that three. And of course, it doesn't go in. When you see plays like that, like I say, of course, regardless good or bad, that's going to be attributed to how Steph changed the game, or for some people's perspective, ruined it, because that's not a shot that you just want to see. And they were only up 2 at that moment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see that, what's the first thing that goes to your head, like immediately?
The first thing I think is that he's scared of the contact. Honestly,
That's
just
fair.
looking at the play, I immediately think that he was scared of the contact, and that may not be accurate at all. But because it was like he was either gonna make a quick step and get a free layup, or dude was gonna bump him a little bit. You take the contact and you eat the layup. But I initially think he's afraid of contact, and then secondly, when looking at it again, I just think it's a low IQ play because shooting threes in transition. Luckily for me, I'm 31, so in my era of playing, I played for coaches that didn't mind us taking threes, especially people that could shoot. So we didn't really play in such a strict era where it's like no threes at all or whatever. So we shot, and then we were even talking about earlier how when we played, we shot threes in transition at times. But it's just a matter of when it makes sense or whatever. And he had a layup. I don't know what reason.
A little push floater.
Right. He had a layup, he had a push floater, or you put pressure on him and you throw it back up to he's bad in the game. He's gonna go get it. So I just think it was a low IQ play, honestly, because I just don't get what went in his mind. And it's not like he went to the corner. You're like in the middle of the court and you stop, dribble out to the three, and he immediately shoots it. Like he had in his mind that's what he was gonna do the whole time. So I just thought he was afraid of the contact, and then next I just thought it was a low IQ play.
I want to say this. I had
manual quick. Low IQ.
Oh snap! Wow, that's mad.
That's terrible.
But no, I had a thought about it as well, just seeing it. And the first thing I thought, okay, well maybe Obi should just gave it up quicker and maybe throw it up from that moment. But then I also got to thinking maybe they should be a little wider as well.
That too. When we talk a lot about spacing recently.
We absolutely have. I was just going to bring that up, like as soon as I thought about that. And I don't know what's like, and it's not even like just bad spacing in the NBA. It's been bad. It's bad spacing on every level. And you would think with how
spaced out here.
Exactly, it's such a space. And this is not even just a this year thing. This is a continuous year in, year out thing, honestly, if you just really paying attention to it. And it's like, say, in the spaced out era, or in the era where we want to shoot, where people want to get these threes off, nobody still understands spacing and timing on fast break. I even go back to like the Denver game last year when Michael Porter has a easy lob because Denver has a 3-on-1 break, but everybody breaks out to the wing and to the corner instead, leaving Campazzo to take a bad shot. And it's like, I know this one of those things like who has time to go over fast break drills in the NBA, but at some point I think coaches have to always, at every point of the game, offense, defense, half court, full court, fast breaks, have to emphasize spacing and stuff like this doesn't happen.
Yeah, because you gotta get a little wider, like they need to do the figure 8 drill some more.
Don't want one dribble pass, don't touch the ground. Gotta figure out how to do it without traveling and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I said, it's a bad play. Honestly, it could have been even a lapse of judgment. Who knows what happened, but it's not a play you want to see at it. Like I say, as you were saying, for that era of older,
he didn't want to contact. Every old head was like, "Look at him, soft." Shout to Coach Five. What did you say? Shout out to Coach Five. What did you say when man quickly dribbled that ball and ran to the three instead of taking that contact and making that layup? First thing that came to your mind, you said it was soft. Shout out to Coach Five.
But other than that, I think we can end it right there. You got anything else?
Thing I did that kind of threw me off.
It's crazy,
bro. No, but that's it for sure. I do want to say shout out to the NBA. I like how since it's NBA 75, they highlight particular players that were on the 75th team like different days. They do them randomly. I don't even know how they do them, but they did Earl Monroe the other day. Yeah, so shout out to Black Jesus. It was cool. I always like watching Earl play, especially for when he was playing. And
no, he doesn't have a time machine. We just watch. We have YouTube and the internet.
Right. Earl was kind of like Kyrie to them out there. How he was with the spins and dribbling and everything like that. So I always like seeing players like Earl Monroe.
Earl was nice.
So shout out to the NBA for that, and always celebrating the players that came, before or whatever. But other than that, appreciate the viewers as always. Afternoon sessions here on the Author Ball Network's Facebook page, our YouTube page, and our Twitter page. coming at y'all on Wednesdays at 12. Probably gonna get some more shows in here too. Who we doing on the room tonight?
We have not made a decision.
No decision yet, so we're gonna choose a room person tonight. But we are on the halftime app tonight, 6:00. Shout out to halftime app, 6 p.m. Hooper's Room every Wednesday. We always go crazy. Go to YouTube. If you ever missed the run or any of our other content, we always put them up on YouTube. Even the Hooper of the Nights, we just put up the highlights or whatever. So go to YouTube. Search the Hooper's Pod, subscribe to the YouTube page, go back and play back, listen to this, because everything we say, usually people listen and they change their tune, and then it works the next day. Jaylen Brown listened to me tell him go to the free throw line, and he went to the free throw line the next game. He dropped 50. So, I know they're going to need this for some scouting advice and stuff. So go ahead and watch it back. Go ahead and sneak it into the coach's room. I know they sliding across the table at ESPN. Here, watch this. We're going to talk about this today. So play back on the YouTube page for sure.
Just look this page up. Side business called Real Shady Like.
Anywhere podcasts are available, search the Hooper's Pod. Go follow the Off the Ball Network. Shout out to everybody over there at Off the Ball Network. Chris LeBron, Mo, Jeff, Steven, Canada, Kenny, Jared, Bars. Shout out to everybody out there. Jelani,
Coach Couch,
Edgar, Coach Couch.
Coach, you gotta come down, man. Well, we still got it's still on. We ain't still on us, man. You gotta come down.
Yeah.
Like I say, Edgar. It's a lot more people. Shout out to everybody on the Off Ball Network that's putting in great work. Ball Fake, Brian Ruiz. Brian, I know Golden State is balling, bro.
Urson.
Like Urson. Shout out to everybody. JP. We keep going. We ain't gonna stop, so we might need to stop.
We haven't did our Off the Ball roll call in a minute. So
no, we have. Shout out to Jay Steves and Ohio State. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Mo and they got I'm mad I can't think of who it is off the top of my head. Mo and the NFL Draft Capital.
Oh, shout out to Draft Capital. That's Chris and
Stuart Burkin. Stu Park. My bad, Stu.
Oh, Stu. Yeah,
my bad. Sure. So I didn't mean to forget you. Like there's a lot of us. I'll be forgetting stuff. But other than that, I'm John W.
Fresh X.
And this was the afternoon session.
Catch y'all next week.